Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. You're listening to the Service Business Mastery Podcast. I'm your host, Tersh. On today's episode, we're going to talk with Scott Reib. Scott is an expert in something that I know very little about, and I'm super excited to have a conversation with him and share all of this information with you because if you're anything like me, it's kind of scary when you think about lawyers and whatnot, and just the ignorance is bliss whenever you're a service technician and then you become a business owner of a service business. It's not something that most people aren't prepared to have a conversation with their lawyer, but I'm super excited to talk today about 5 strategies to help shatterproof your business with Scott. Scott's known as America's legal coach. He's official Zig Ziglar small business lawyer and a Ziglar Legacy certified trainer. Sorry, I was getting my tongue tied there. And it has over 20 years of experience as an attorney. For the last 2 decades, Scott has been helping business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, and service providers to shatterproof their business and succeed in the professional world. Scott's a firm believer that seeking legal advice doesn't have to be intimidating or expensive if you treat your lawyers like your primary care doctors instead of your ER doctors, like a CPA. So you need to have a relationship with a CPA. You need to have a relationship with your lawyer through his subscription-based access plan legal service. Scott's making great strides in shifting that perspective, which is really freaking awesome. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Tersh. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait. So like I said in the intro, I'm guilty of this. I knew I was guilty of it with with my CPA also. So I created a relationship. I purposely created a relationship with the CPA. I have a current quote unquote subscription based plan with a legal service, but it's not a relationship at all. And honestly, I don't really see the value in what I'm paying for currently. And I'm sure you're familiar with kind of the stuff that I'm talking about, but
probably
it's one of those things where like I get into a tight spot and then I'd like reach out. There's no relationship built there. So they don't really know my business. They don't know me. But anyways, enough about me. Let's hear about you. Give us a little bit about your background and how you got to working with small businesses.
Sure. Yeah. I started out in sales back in the early 90s for a major telecarrier, AT&T. They made me what's called back then was an authorized agent, and I could sell phones, the parts and aftermarket stuff for phone systems to the big business market. And I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma at that time, and was really doing well. I was very young, newly married, and I figured out a way in their system to generate new contracts for expiring maintenance agreements.
Ooh.
Right? You buy equipment now, and especially back then you would get a maintenance agreement with it. Usually they're about 4 years in term. Mm-hmm. Well, those phone systems would last decades, so you had to keep maintaining them. So they would renew. So I would send out those contracts. Half of them would come back in the mail, true mailbox money. And then I would start dialing to talk to the business owners, and then about 25% more would come in. And then I was getting paid on the annual premium for all of those. So we were sitting at our kitchen table cranking out those contracts on our old dot matrix printer as fast as we could, and making more money than we'd seen. Mm-hmm. Again, we were young, but we thought it was going great. Then in comes a new manager. The manager decides, hey, we really like what you're doing, but we don't want to pay you to do that anymore. And they took that away from me and gave it to a minimum wage worker in the office.
Oh, no.
I breached my contract and sent me to Southeast Oklahoma, which anyone knows it's a great part of the country, but they did not have a big need for business phones. So I'm not sure they had phones back in the early 90s. It's a beautiful country, but not technology.
Yeah.
And so they sent me there to die, basically. So I went to see a lawyer and was told, yeah, they've breached your contract. You made a few mistakes here and there, but you can't afford to fight AT&T.
Yeah.
And they were right. So I did what every sane human would do. I decided to go to law school. So I started preparing for my LSAT exam, took that, and applied to law school. And about 6 months later, was at the University of Oklahoma College of Law, starting my first year of law school.
Wow.
Law school was great. If you've ever been at working and get to go back to school, then you really appreciate school.
Yes.
And so I enjoyed my 3 years there, got out and went to work in 96 in a civil litigation firm where we were doing really high-end federal court litigation with copyright and trademark cases, really big things that with engineers and truthfully, it was very boring. It was important, I guess.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the cases we were dealing with, what would become the standard for music, which was it going to be the bigger CDs or the small CD. So that was important for a while. That's kind of becoming irrelevant now. But some of those big things, and I would sit on conference calls hour after hour, listening to engineers and things, and billing the client for that time, and just bored out of my mind, and not feeling like I was helping people. So I started looking for ways to help people, and one of the areas that I felt the most helpful was with small business owners. And really the first business client I had, I can remember, was a small ambulance company here in Texas. Mm-hmm. And they were they had a challenge with a competitor. We dealt with that. And then I can remember I'd formed a relationship with the son-in-law of the owners. And we were having breakfast one morning. He said, I really think Mom and Dad would like to sell this ambulance company. Do you think you could help? And I'm like, well, yeah, I could help. That sounds like a lot of fun. And decided that I wanted to do that on a percentage. Mm-hmm. So they agreed to pay me a percentage of whatever I could get them for the business. And so I went to work. Senior partners helped me put together a deal. And we found a very large ambulance company to buy them. And so that was my first exposure to really helping small business owners. And it gave those people freedom. And then it secured several jobs for some of the local EMTs that needed that, because the bigger company was able to give them, more benefits, better pay, a little more consistency and reliability. So it was really fun. So that was kind of my entrance into working with small businesses. I did other things along the way. Ever since my first year of being a lawyer, I've been an owner of a law firm. Uh-huh. I guess I've owned, not counting this one, 3 other law firms. And we started Reib Law in 2005. And in 2005, when you open a law firm, you kind of have to take whatever comes in the doors.
I think that's what a lot of businesses.
Yeah. And so for a while, if you could breathe, you were my client. Yeah. And so we did all kinds of things. But over the first 5 years, we were able to start kind of narrowing it down. And like you mentioned, the subscription plan, I can remember I was kind of in a small office suite, which back in early 2000s, there weren't a lot of those. But, so there were other business owners around me. And I can remember them talking about, we can't afford to pay your hourly rate. I wish you had some kind of a plan for small business owners. And we would ponder what that would look like. And I didn't I got the idea, but I didn't really know how to put it together. So I just kind of put a pin in that. And in 2012, I started looking for a business coach to help me figure that out. Okay. I interviewed a couple business coaches, ended up that one of my lifetime friends in Tulsa was working with a guy named Clay Clark, who had really helped him. And so I called him and we hit it off, and he understood what I was trying to do, even though he'd never worked with a lawyer before to do that. And so we set out, and at the end of the day had created what is now called the iLegal Access Plan or program. And what that program did was give small business owners, like you, people that it's from startup to $20 million in revenue. We have lots of different, range, the ability to have legal answers on demand. I like to say the right information at the right time is often the difference between success and failure.
100%.
So, yeah. Right. And kind of the problem that we were trying to solve was, why are our clients only calling us when their business is on fire.
Guilty.
Yeah. Well, and the reason we came up with was because they don't like how we bill people, right? Generally, you're getting paid by, getting billed by your lawyer by the hour. Really, it's kind of by the 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And so every time you call them, money is just flying out of your pocket. So that's a disincentive to call. So we had to remove that disincentive because the only way to really be successful from a legal standpoint in your business is to be proactive. So one of the key things that we built into our plan is that you have unlimited access to us either by telephone, text, or email. So if you have a question, you can get that question answered generally within 48 hours. And if it's an emergency, everyone gets SOS calls even faster.
Gotcha.
Right. And then the next really big thing that, and this was the most important thing to me, was that we have built into every plan at least a 20-minute call every month with every client.
Really?
So that we can build a relationship. It's I'm getting ready to go see a new doctor. I need a new primary care doc. I just turned 51 and I need to start taking care of making sure I'm getting regular physicals and that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I need a new doc. And I know when I go see this new doctor who's been highly recommended, I'm going to be a little bit nervous. I probably won't be as open as I would
right.
if I'd known him for 10 years.
Yep.
And so over time, the more I go see him, we'll build rapport in a relationship. I'll become more of an open book and he will be able to help me more. It's the same with your lawyer. The more you open up to them and tell them what you're doing in your life and in your business, the easier it is for them to spot what I call the potholes of life and then help you steer around them. Or
it's so funny that you mentioned that because I didn't even think about this until you were just saying that. But my son, all of my kids play travel soccer, and my second oldest son, they grew up, they played travel ball. So they grew up with these other kids, and one of the other dads, we became really good friends, and he became my dentist. So then it was like, we see each other now, other than a few weeks during the summer, we see each other every weekend, and we truly have a friendship and a relationship. And he'll call me on stuff that normally, like I've had horrible teeth my whole life. And so I have implants and all kinds of metal titanium rods in my mouth and everything else. And having that relationship with him as the dentist that everybody fears, it's really like I can just go right in there. He'll call me and say, hey, you really got to come get this taken care of. And instead of me being just terrified and blowing him off, it's more of like, okay, I believe you. All right, I'm coming to see you, Mike. And he's like, okay, I'll see you. Yeah,
that's really how it works. And there's clients that during that 20-minute call, we won't ever even get to anything that's truly legal.
Right. Yeah.
It's just about life and catching up because over the 7 years, I've got clients that have been in this thing 7 years. It's, we've really developed a friendship and relationship, but which is great. That was the idea. But what it enables me to do is to be able to see more clearly some of the things that are wrong because I have a totally different perspective than you do.
Yeah.
You're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And I can see things. And one of my areas of giftedness is that I can see those things and then help you find a path to solve the problem or go around the problem.
Avoid it altogether.
Right. In my life, I have all kinds of problems I can't solve, but I can solve yours really well.
Yeah, I'm with you there. People call it, they'll ask me questions and I'm like, I wish I had that same exact problem in my business. I can tell you how to solve that problem. I'm not a business coach, but I've just talked to so many people that this is what's worked for them. And, but for me, I have trouble solving some of my own issues too.
Yeah.
Cool. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about the 5 strategies to shatterproof your business. And if for some reason you have to get off this episode, hang up early. I like to associate hang up because most people listen to it on their phone on a drive between service calls or on their commute to the office. you can go to Scott's website to get more information from this, but I still challenge you to listen to everything and listen to the entire episode. But you can go to Scott, if you will tell them the website to get more information from you and to work on the book.
Sure. It's reiblaw.com, REIBLAW.com/business mastery. So if you go to that page, we have a special offer for you, just for you listeners, that will do a 20-minute free, what I call laser legal coaching session, where we can focus on your business for 20 minutes and see what value I can give you and help you with some of your problems and issues. And then you also can download a free copy of the ebook, 5 Proven Strategies to Shatterproof Your Business. And if you don't know that you need to shatterproof your business, do the 20-minute call and I'll tell you why you need it.
Yeah, we're going to decide really quickly why you need to do this. Cool. So let's dive down into it, and let's get started with number 1. What's the first strategy?
Yeah, you kind of led into that earlier. The first strategy is to establish 5 key relationships. It's kind of this team of advisors. And you mentioned a really valuable one, the CPA, right? And it's relationship. So you've got to have a CPA that's interested in spending time with you and teaching you about accounting, about financial statements, how to read them, how to do your books correctly, how to forecast, how to do your taxes correctly, what's the best taxes, way to structure your business from a tax standpoint, and have an ongoing conversation about that so you can make adjustments, right? It's small hinges swing big doors.
Absolutely.
But you've got to be monitoring that so you can make those little adjustments as you go. If you wait till the end of the year, take them a box of documents, they'll do your tax return and you'll pay more than you should have to pay. But you won't know it because you have no relationship. So
and you can't really prepare things. And the thing about a good CPA, they should save you whatever their expenses are. And so as long as I preface that, as long as you have a good relationship with them and you stay in constant contact with them, mine requires that we talk every other week. So twice a month, we get on the phone for about 20 minutes and have a conversation for that reason, so that they can see how things are going and everything in the business, and just having that relationship. And also, I'd like to add that it's also helpful if your CPA in particular. I'm not sure about lawyers because of, I honestly, like I said at the beginning, I'm very ignorant in this realm here, but they have experience in at least service businesses, if not in HVAC service business or plumbing or fencing or something like that. As long as they have some experience with that type of clientele, then they kind of know what to expect, the ebbs and flows of your slow season, your shoulder season, if you're going to have those types of things. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it does make it easier if you can find someone that has done your industry before. I think that's an important factor. I think the most important factor in picking a CPA, though, is the first thing you mentioned is that they want to talk to you every 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
you're looking for a very special breed of CPA that want to interact with you. Most CPAs do not want the interaction. That's why they are CPAs. All they want to do is send you a report telling you what happened for the year.
Yep.
That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for someone that wants to talk to you, wants to help you, and wants to build a relationship. So that's kind of the first thing. And then the second thing would be, do you have experience with HVAC companies, or at least service related businesses? Most of them do, but if they don't, I wouldn't write them off if you really like them, or comfortable with them, and they're willing to spend some time to figure it out. It's not that different.
Right.
They can figure it out, and then you can kind of educate them on the way the seasons work and the way the money flows. But those would be 2 important factors. But the main thing is to find someone they're just going to be a little bit different than your normal CPA. And so it may take you a handful of interviews to find that person. Back in 2013, I did a CPA tour and met with 45 CPAs in 30 days.
Wow.
It was very interesting. And I only found 3 that I was willing to refer my clients to.
I believe it, because like you said, to start with, a lot of CPAs are CPAs because they don't want to talk to people. They want to they like numbers, they like math, but conversations aren't their strong suits. And And there's a place for CPAs like that for sure. But whenever you have a small business like that, they're an extension of you, they're an extension of your business, and you're paying them. So you need to take advantage of that, of them and their knowledge.
Yeah, I also would like to see a CPA that's trying to grow, that isn't interested in just being just them and a computer.
Good point.
If they're trying to scale their business, then they're going to be able to understand more what you're trying to do. And so I think that could be important as well. I mean, if you just want to be you in a truck, and if that's your goal, that's fine.
Right.
Then a CPA that wants to do that too would be okay. But if your dreams are to scale your business and to have a fleet of trucks, then you want someone that's trying to grow it. And so they may have some CPAs on their team that aren't relational. That's okay. If they can do the accounting work, that's great. But you need someone that is relational that can work with you. That's the first relationship. The second is a banker. You need a banker, not a bank. Everyone's got a bank. There's one on every corner. You need a banker that you've got their cell phone and can communicate with them. I was communicating with my banker over the weekend. Right. So you need that kind of relationship, that they're interested in hearing from you, that they'll let you know if there's a problem with your account. If you see a problem with your account, you can call them. If you need to be able to write a check today and deposit the money tomorrow, the only way you're going to get that done is if you have a relationship. And it does happen. They can also help you set up credit cards and lines of credit and things that are necessary, especially in service-related businesses where you may need to keep some inventory of parts and things and don't want to use your cash to do it. So you've got to have a relationship. And so just going down to the big box bank isn't probably going to cut it. And you may actually have to not go through the drive-through, but actually go into the lobby sometime.
How dare you say that?
Maybe pick up a cup of coffee and take it to your banker and actually spend some time. My banker will actually comes to my office occasionally to visit with me. And so that's the kind of person that you're looking for. And so you should be able to talk to them, tell them your dream and your vision. And if they like it and want to work with you, then that's a place for you to put your money. And if they leave that bank, then you follow them. Right. It's about the banker, not the bank.
Yes.
Right. So then the next thing would be you need to have an insurance agent. So you need someone that can help you cover the risks, because there's some risk that is just there's not a way to avoid it. It's just there. So we need to have someone knowledgeable in our industry that can make all the recommendations for here's the 8 different policies that you should have in a perfect world. And then they can prioritize them for you, help you figure out the best way to get those coverages, and then keep on at least an annual basis, sit down with you and go, okay, are we doing anything new, anything changed? Here's the policies that you've got. Here's what I think you should be adding, right? And this is just from a business standpoint. I'm not talking about your personal life insurance agent and financial planner, which you should also have, but we're talking just from the business standpoint. So you need someone that understands how to protect your business. And again, it's not just you can't just call an 1-800 number and do that. I mean, you can, but you're going to get what you get. So let's get a relationship with someone that they're adding to that team.
It really is crazy the difference between just calling the 1-800 number and getting the next person that answers the phone versus developing the relationship with your insurance agent. I accidentally developed a relationship with mine because we networked together. And once I became the president of the Small Business Chamber in Savannah, he was at all the events. And so we developed a relationship, and then I just moved all of my stuff over to him. And it's like, I literally text him anytime I have a question about anything. And he's the same way with me. If he has another client that has air conditioning issue, or they have a fire or something and they're questioning, what's being told to them, he'll call me and I'll walk them right through the same thing.
Yeah, it's super important. I think I actually pay more for my insurance right now than I was before, but I know I can talk to this person and I have their cell phone number. They answer on the weekends. So it's worth it to me to pay a little more to have that kind of relationship and service.
I agree.
So that would be the third relationship. The next one would be a lawyer. You should have a business lawyer, and it should be someone that's on demand. So you're not having to pay them by the minute every time you have a question, or have to wait 2 weeks for an appointment and then pay them a retainer. That doesn't work.
Is that something that they need to have like locally, or, I mean, can we do that? Because with the technology, like my CPA is in Charleston, South Carolina, like they're not even close to me. Can we do the same thing with lawyers? I mean,
Sure. I've got clients I've never met.
okay, in person.
We go over Zoom.
Okay.
And I've seen them face to face, but we've never met in person. We do all of our work. I'm licensed in Oklahoma and in Texas. One of my associates is licensed in a couple of other states, but we do all of our work from Texas. But we have clients that use our services from around the country.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But so I'm not there. If you can have a local that offers those services, I think that's awesome. So you can walk into their office. That would be great. It's just not always practical. And in today's world, I mean, a lot of my clients don't have offices.
Yeah, that's us.
They're online entrepreneurs, and they're officing out of their house with a laptop and a camera, and that's all you need. It's a cool world. But yeah, so we can do that. But you need to have how you pay them nailed down, and they need to give you what I call on-demand access. So you can be in a meeting and a problem come up, or maybe a topic come up that you don't understand, right? Maybe they start using what I call legal mumbo jumbo and you don't understand it. And so you're able to step out of the meeting, get on the phone with your lawyer and say, hey, this is what they're asking me to do. What does this mean? They then can explain it to you, get you up to speed. You go back into the meeting and look like a rock star instead of sitting there and possibly making a bad decision because you didn't want to look stupid.
Right.
That's the kind of, if you have that kind of a relationship, it can really help you move your business forward with confidence that you're not making big mistakes. You're going to make some because no one's perfect, but it's like, can we avoid the big mistakes? And so then so you really should do that. We call ours the access plan. Our plans range from $325 a month to $975 a month. So depending on your business, there's a track for everybody there. And you really should find someone that can do that for you. And if you can't, or if you'd like to talk to us, then again, go to that reblaw.com/business mastery, book a call so we can talk about what might work for your business to get you covered with this key relationship. The final relationship that you need is a business coach. If you really want to grow your business, you really need a business coach that can give you a path to success and then hold you accountable to action steps along the way. Because even though many of us who are entrepreneurs and business owners are very self-disciplined and self-starters, or we wouldn't be doing this, it's very easy to get lost in the weeds of just doing the things that you have to do for your business. You need someone that can hold you accountable to doing more than is just required day to day to grow. Otherwise, you'll stagnate. You won't achieve your goals. You'll get frustrated. What my friend Howard Partridge says, you'll become a slave to your business.
100%.
And that's no fun. So you need a business coach to help you walk through that.
It's funny because like, even whenever I started the podcast, like I knew a pretty good bit about business. I went back to college and, but you hit the nail on the head whenever you said, because once I hired my business coach, there's things that are being done that I just thought was going to be 2 or 3 years away. Because he has a whole team of people that just push me. And they're like, this can be done. Just do it. Don't put it off. And so holding you accountable and then showing you the way to do it. And then, like you said, avoiding the weeds, like that's not a job you need to be doing. So, if you listen to the podcast before, anybody that's listening, you've heard me say this before, paying someone else to do something that you normally would be doing is much better investment. And when you have a coach that says, can you hire somebody to do it for $10 an hour? You need to hire somebody to do it for $10 an hour. Even if you can do it really quick, just outsource it so that you can be billing $200 an hour. It doesn't make sense for you to be doing a task for 2 hours that you can pay somebody $10 an hour or $20 total to do, when you could bill $400 during that same time period. So, right. And you don't really think about that because as an entrepreneur, you're like, I'm just going to do everything. I'm the janitor, everything whenever I'm the owner. And I know social media you're guilty of, like, almost to the point where like, I feel guilty if I don't do more of the like nitty gritty stuff, but the more I've outsourced and you hire VAs and all kinds of other things, it's just like I can just cram so much more into the same day, doing physically the same amount of work, but getting so much more accomplished.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, if you don't do that, then as a business owner, you really just have a glorified job, right? At the end of the day, if you're doing everything and just taking home a paycheck, then that's a glorified job. Business owners should be getting paid two ways. You should get paid for the work you do in your business. That would be wages. And then you should get profit for the performance of the business.
Yep.
And too many of my clients don't understand that. They're either just making the profit, or they're just paying themselves as a technician. And so you got to do both. And if you're doing a job in the business, you need to associate a wage with that, so that when you scale it, you've already got that built into your system, so that you can replace yourself in that box, pay the person what you were being paid, and then move to the next box.
Yeah.
It's but it's having that business coach to tell you when it's time to do that is very helpful, because you might do it too soon.
Yeah.
Or you might do it too late. And having someone with a little more experience and a little different perception can really help you. My problem was trying to find a coach that had a path for me. Everyone just wanted to talk about my feelings and and what was my life purpose, and all those things are important. But I needed to make money. And so I needed someone to tell me how to solve this problem in a way that would generate revenue. This guy had the path. We jumped on it, and it worked. I was with that coach for 2 years. Since then, I'm always paying someone to coach me in the business. And I've paid lots of money to do that, because it makes sense. It's an investment.
It really does. And it's an investment in yourself too, because you're learning, even though you're paying someone else to help you, you should be learning something. You shouldn't just be a robot, but it sounds like you were like me. And I've had coaches in the past where it was more of, they would ask me questions until I figured it out. And then I found the coach that I have now, and it's like, okay, that's your problem. This is your solution. Do this. And it's like, okay, let's do it. And then just rock and roll and move on to the next thing. And then like, that's how I learn, is like, I don't have to figure it out. If you'll tell me what to do, I'm fine with that. And we'll just rock and roll it with it. And then, don't repeat the same question over and over again. But learn from the question and learn from the interaction with the coach. But yeah, I really struggle having a coach that is constantly asking me questions, and then I finally figure it out for myself. That just kind of irritates me a little bit.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So the next strategy would be to establish or start your business on a solid
strategy
foundation.
Number one. Sorry, I'm thinking, I'm writing this stuff down. I'm like, oh yeah, heck yeah, we're only 20 minutes in, and we got. Oh no, we're 40 minutes in.
We don't have to hit them all. But the second strategy is important, because you've got to have the right legal structure, or what I call the foundation for your business. And there's corporations, which would be, you could be a C Corp or an S Corp. There's limited liability companies, partnerships, limited partnerships. There's all kinds of different forms of businesses. And some of them are right for you and some of them are not. And you may need multiple entities to protect your business and your personal assets.
Wow.
Right. The big deal with legal structure is that, in my grandparents' time, you could be a sole proprietor, a mom and pop business, and you were fine, because there wasn't what I call a predator creditor on every corner looking to sue you. But now in the U.S., my understanding is there's about 20 million lawsuits filed every year. That's a lot. And those lawsuits cost about $85,000 as the median cost to defend one.
Wow.
Most small business owners don't have that kind of money set aside to defend a lawsuit. And if it's a breach of contract type case, which most of them are, there's no insurance for that, right? So you're paying for the lawyers out of your pocket. And if you lose the case, then you're paying for the damages, or you're filing bankruptcy. So it's important to be set up right, so that you can survive that kind of a battle, because it's no longer if it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time before there's some sort of legal attack on your business, and you need to be structured right. If you're a sole proprietorship, everything you have is exposed, right? So here's the example. Had a 20-year general contractor. They were doing remodeling. I mean, stellar reputation in the community, had never had a Better Business Bureau complaint. I mean, everyone loved them until they didn't, right? Then they find the one customer they cannot make happy. So this guy called me to come in. This guy I knew from church. He came in. The first question I asked him is, when did you incorporate? And he said, oh, we haven't done that.
How did he not, like, just never got an LLC or?
They had never done an LLC or corporation, so they were still a sole proprietorship. Actually, it would have been a general partnership between he and his family. And but the bigger problem was that they had also, besides this construction business, had been buying houses and remodeling them and then leasing
each
them
one
out.
of those houses wasn't under its own LLC, or at least 2 or 3 of them?
No, they were in their individual names.
Oh.
So everything that they had was exposed to this one lawsuit. And this was back in 2007 and 8.
Oh, yeah.
The credit crunch was happening, and they really needed to refinance some of those properties, and they could not because of the lawsuit. And so what they had to do was they had to settle this lawsuit that was very winnable and pay money that they shouldn't have had to pay just to get free from it so that they could then restructure and get a corporation in place.
Man, that sucks.
So if you're listening right now and you don't have a corporation or LLC, at least that for your operating company, you have to get it, because otherwise everything that you've taken home from your business is exposed to your business liability. Once you put that wall around your business, then your personal assets are protected. Now, your business assets may still be at risk, and there's some strategies that we can teach you to fix some of that. But you at least got to have that wall around your business, which is a corporation or LLC, to make sure that liability can't go home.
That's really interesting. So does it matter if you start out like S Corp or just LLC? I know that whenever I first applied for mine, it was asking me all kinds of stuff, and I had some help, but even with the little bit of help that I had, it was like, they were like, well, you could do this or this. It wasn't black and white. It was very gray areas. And, there's like, well, if you go S Corp, you have to pay yourself a reasonable wage. And I was like, well, I plan on paying myself, so I guess that's fine. But it's like, it was very vague, everything, which I was really uncomfortable about.
Yeah. And so there's a conversation when you're deciding your structure that needs to be happening between you with your lawyer and with your CPA to figure out what's going to be the best tax structure for you. Because when you talk about S Corp status, that's a tax election that you make with the IRS. When let's say LLC is the way to go. It almost always is. It's a very flexible entity because we can pick whatever taxation strategy we want. It's what the IRS calls a check the box entity. So you start out with an LLC. If it's a single member out of the box, it's what we call a pass-through or a disregarded entity. So everything that you earn with your LLC goes straight through to your 1040. It's real simple. So if you've been a sole proprietor, there's nothing changes for you from the tax standpoint. The money still goes the same way. But then as you become a little more sophisticated, maybe you're making some money, and this could even happen in the first year if you needed to make a change. Then you can start paying yourself a regular salary, withholding taxes. You then make the S Corp election, and so now you're going to save about 10 to 15% on your taxes, and you're no longer paying that self-employment tax by making that S Corp election. Again, that's a tax issue you need to get with your CPA. I only play a tax lawyer on TV, but if you'll get with them, then I guess on podcast, you can figure out the best form for you. But with an LLC, you could even be taxed as a C corporation if for some reason that made sense for you. I can't think of why it would make sense, but it could. There could be some reason the C Corp tax rates are down a little bit. There could be reasons in the way your business works for you to be C Corp.
So what is the downside of a C Corp? Like,
from my perspective, the downside of a C Corp is that it actually files and pays tax. So an S Corp only files an informational return with the IRS. A C Corp actually pays corporate tax. So the company will pay tax on the income, and then whatever you've taken home as a business owner, then you'll pay tax on that again. And so in business school and things, they'll call that, double taxation.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Yeah. Now, if you have a really good CPA, there's a lot of ways to make sure you're not paying double tax. But you've got to really be on top of that, and it just needs to make sense for you. It's generally going to probably be one of the larger companies where you're doing, let's say, 5-10 million. Not a startup company or a $500,000 revenue company. But that's, again, the decision that you should discuss with your CPA, probably at least annually, of are we set up right from a tax standpoint? Is there some change we should make that would make a difference for us?
But once you go S or C, you can't go back, right?
Yeah, you can.
You can. Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's a form that you can file explaining your reason for that change, and you can change. You can't go back and forth during a year, but for each year you can make that election.
Cool.
Yeah. Another thing I see some business owners do with taxes is become a fiscal business where they set their fiscal year to be different than everyone's right now. Out of the box is January 1 to December 31. If you don't like that, you could be because of the cyclical nature of your service business, you could elect to have a different fiscal calendar, and so your taxes would then be due at different times. So that's another.
How would you? So that would be definitely a CPA conversation.
Yeah, because if your business is really slow at the end of the year, it may be better for you to end your year in September when you've just finished a really busy season. There's just some different things, but yeah, you can talk to them. But that's another area you can make an election with the IRS and have some control over your life.
Good to know.
Yeah, so that's the first two strategies in how to shatterproof your business.
Yeah, so here I was just chatting along, thinking I'm right now 1 through 5, and that's just 1 through 5 of part 1. So I would love to have you back on to at least go through 2 more of them. Okay, cool. So we'll schedule that. But those 2, that's tons of information. I could honestly probably talk for an hour on each one of these that we've talked about so far. But shout out, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all your information so far. And I'm super excited to talk to you again. Is there anything else? I know I'll share your website on there. Is that the best place for anybody to reach out?
That's the best place for them, because they'll get value immediately by going to that page. You can also find me on social media. On Instagram, I'm the Scott Reib. I would love to see you there. We're pushing content out on all of our social media channels daily. Cool. With good information for business owners. And then if you want to chat with us there, that's fine too. But the most value is going to be at the reiblaw.com/business mastery, where you actually can get something free from a lawyer, which doesn't happen very often.
Hey, this podcast is free.
Yeah.
There's tons of information here too. So cool. Thank you again for coming on the show. And for anybody that's listening, go follow Scott on Instagram. If you're not already following me on Instagram, follow me, Tersh, at Tersh Blissett. And the Service Business Mastery, we also have an Instagram page. I'll have to admit, I'm not super active on that one, although I am with the air conditioning company and my personal page. But where I'm getting at, if you find value in this episode, please take a screenshot of it, share it in your stories on Instagram, Facebook, and tag both Scott and I, and we'd love to connect with you. And if we're not already friends over social media, we can become social media BFFs. If you have any questions for me, feel free to reach out to me, Tersh at icebound.us. Little bit of tidbit information, top secret information for everybody that's listening. That email address will be changing before long, but I'll reveal some of that. Those top secret details in the next couple of weeks. So a lot of people do email me to test out my autoresponder. So that's one of the ways that I'm able to streamline my daily process, is having an autoresponder that it helps to control the expectations, limit the expectations of people who are emailing me. So they're not expecting an immediate response. It clearly says that I'll reply twice a day, or I read my emails twice a day, and I'll reply as soon as possible. And then it also relays contact information if it's an emergency. So that's one of the ways that I'm able to stay off of my computer is not having to check the emails every time it dings. So if you want to check that out, definitely check it out. And a lot of people will send it in the message in the actual. Why I'm having a brain fart right now. The come on, Tersh. The subject line. Jeez Louise. Subject line. Just put testing autoresponder. And then I'll know like that you don't have to reply. I'm just testing this autoresponder. And then but knowing me, I'll probably reply anyways and we'll get into a conversation. But feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions for Scott and you're too shy. If you're just like me and you're an introvert and you don't want to reach out and make new relationships, reach out to me and I'll definitely reach out to Scott and try and get your questions answered. But I do challenge you to definitely go check out the website and develop a relationship with Scott. It's not very often that you're going to hear, at least me personally, that a lawyer wants to develop a relationship with their clients. I know that's kind of, I don't know. I feel like it's probably something that's said a lot, but you can tell just by talking with you, Scott, that you're definitely somebody who walks the walk and not just the talk. So I appreciate you coming on the show again, and I appreciate everybody that's listening to this episode. And I look forward to talking to you again next week on the Service Business Mastery Podcast, the podcast focused on service business owners, managers, and technicians who are considering becoming business owners themselves. We'll talk again soon.